Welcome to my Ultimate VR Games Buyer's Guide for the Meta Quest 2 and the Meta Quest 3. There is hundreds of games available, but these are the ones that really stand the test of time and kept me coming back. We have a variety of first-person shooters, survival horror, puzzles, mixed reality, multiplayer and escape rooms, and more for you to sink your gaming teeth into. I've also included a link to every game featured in today's list in the video's description. Some of these games are fully reviewed on the channel, so all you need to do is simply search Gamertag VR and you'll find the game. And if you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to leave a like and subscribe for more virtuality content. Asgard's Wrath 2 sees you set out on an adventure to get revenge on the trickster god Loki, spanning over 4 different heroes with a massive world to explore, the likes never before seen on Quest and in VR in general. The game boasts over 100 hours of gameplay for completionists, and this really does have it all. Great graphics, deep gameplay, awesome combat and hours upon hours of gaming. You can find my full review in the video description. Sticking with the adventure theme, next up is Dungeons of Eternity. Team up with 3 friends and take on a never-ending procedurally generated world filled with a variety of enemies to level up and unlock schematics for an almost endless amount of loot and weapons to make your character and your next run even greater. The combat is fantastic and is now enhanced for Quest 3 to deliver sharper and more detailed graphics. The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapters 1 and 2 is easily one of the best zombie survival games ever made in VR. Fantastic stabbing physics, a meaty chainsaw and hours of gameplay. Seriously one of the community's all-time favourites on any VR headset. Plus, we have Quest 3 enhancements coming soon on January the 16th, and from what I've seen already, it will make this game look very close to the beautiful PCVR version. Now, one of the games I didn't expect to like as much as I do is The Seventh Guest VR, featuring 3D motion capture to really tell the story in a way no other VR game ever has. As you explore this really creepy mansion, you'll have a lamp that, when used, can show you the past in real time. Watching the environment go from a very dusty, cobweb, horror-like environment back to its original beautiful settings, and watching flowers simply spring to life is absolutely incredible in VR, and the puzzles are really challenging. This is one of my favourites of 2023. Into the Radius is a single-player survival shooter set in a dystopian world. You have to explore the zone. It's filled with dangerous anomalies who want to kill you while you complete your missions, and you'll need to scavenge for loot, all the while trying to uncover the mystery of the Radius. The weapons feel superb and are pretty realistic. You have to keep your guns in top shape by keeping them clean and oiling them, which is pretty cool. Look out for Into the Radius 2 coming soon, featuring 4-player co-op. Contractors is one of my personal favourite first-person shooters, mainly due to the community mod maps available. Not only will you be playing some of the best maps from Call of Duty, Star Wars and Halo, they also feature the same physics of the game you're playing, which is pretty unique and an overlooked feature, and experiencing some of the all-time classic Call of Duty zombie maps makes this well worth the money. Now it's time to fulfill the ultimate Marvel hero fantasy and suit up as Iron Man. Using your hands as thrusters, the opening level is one of the best in VR. You must defeat the mysterious Ghost Hacker, who wants revenge on Tony Stark and is using an army of Stark Industry weapons to get his revenge. This is a very cool game that really captures the essence of being a superhero. Assassin's Creed Nexus is the best Assassin's Creed game I've ever played. Becoming Ezio for the first time and seeing the blades spring from your wrists is unforgettable, and the game is truly beautiful. It was a real surprise hit for me on Quest this year. Ubisoft really nailed the parkour, and feels just like playing the flat games, making traversing the world a superb experience. You can also embody 2 more characters across 17 chapters. This is seriously one of the best games on Quest right now. Population 1 is a free-to-play battle royale game which never gets old. I personally prefer this over Fortnite. The weapons feel fantastic, and there's a ton of unlockables thanks to the developers who are always giving players new challenges and DLC to play. Become Agent Leon S. Kennedy in the original Resident Evil 4 remastered for VR. And as a fan of all things Resident Evil, this is one of the best non-VR to VR conversions I've ever seen, and is actually my favourite version of the original game. Plus the whole game can be played seated, which is lovely after a hard day of unwrapping presents. Phantom Covert Ops sees you dispatch behind enemy lines in your military kayak. You get to utilise weapons and equipment to neutralise enemies and engage targets lethally, or you can infiltrate unnoticed. Now for me, this is the ultimate stealth VR game. It really does give you that Metal Gear Solid vibe you're probably after, and the kayaking is also excellent and even features the voice of Solid Snake himself. Among Us VR is a fun and affordable party game based on teamwork and betrayal. Grab your crew and headset and launch to the VR version of this hit multiplayer game with 4 to 10 players as you complete tasks to hold your ship together. But be aware, one or more of the players among the crew are the imposters, and they are sabotaging and killing everyone, and you need to figure out who they are. After the Fall is set in the apocalypse of 90s Los Angeles, a frozen wasteland overrun by the dead. You can take up arms with other harvest runners online in an underground bunker and venture out above the ground to help fuel mankind's survival. Full on action and lots of content updates and awesome weapon rewards have kept players coming back for quite some time. In Death Unchained is a medieval fantasy seeing you restore the harmony in Purgatory, with a massive challenge and hours of gameplay, fighting against forsaken souls and angelic creatures that have taken over the afterlife. This is one of the great roguelike games VR has to offer. It's got fantastic bow and arrow mechanics, and there's Quest 3 enhancements now available. Red Matter 2 is an adventure that takes place during the dystopian Cold War, whose events occur after the original Red Matter. You will embark on a journey of a lifetime to the far reaches of the solar system that will make you question your entire reality as you face the Red Matter. This is not only a graphical showpiece of what Quest 2 and Quest 3 is capable of, it's also a brilliant adventure and interactive story puzzler that I definitely highly recommend. Cosmodread is a tense and immersive sci-fi procedurally generated roguelike and really does scratch that Dead Space in VR itch you've probably got. It may not have the best graphics on Quest, but it's definitely got very good gameplay. Saber really doesn't need any introduction, and it's probably the most viral game in VR in the world, and for very good reason. It's actually quite hard to master, but easy to pick up and play, and who doesn't love lightsabers? There's tons of DLC for all music tastes, such as the rock mixtape, featuring bands like the White Stripes, Nirvana, Guns N' Roses, and then you've got artists like Linkin Park, Fall Out Boy, Lady Gaga, and many more. Saber really is a must-buy. Demeo is the Dungeons & Dragons game you've been waiting for. Roll the dice, pick up the miniature heroes, and free the world of Gilmira with your friends online in an amazing tabletop experience, which can also be played in mixed reality. With a huge assortment of monsters, playable classes, and environments to explore, it never feels like the same game twice, and there has been a lot of updates since it launched, including the Heroes Hangout, where you can play arcade machines together, paint models, and do archery. And if you really enjoy Demeo, check out the sister game Demeo Battles, where you fight other players online instead of AI. I really can't recommend the Demeo games enough. For those of you who fancy yourself as the new Bob Ross, check out the amazing application Vermilion. Featuring truly lifelike paintbrush mechanics, the ability to import images to paint from, and it now has a mixed reality mode so you can chill out in your own environment and create your masterpieces. Travel to a galaxy far away with the Star Wars Vader Immortal series. Now you can buy these chapters separately, but I would heavily suggest picking it up as an entire bundle, because even though the story is really cool, one of the best things about this series is the Jedi Dojo. I don't think there's ever been a better lightsaber experience in VR. As you progress through the games, you end up unlocking extra force powers, and personally I think you'll have one of the best Star Wars experiences you'll have in gaming. Walkabout Mini Golf takes everything you love about the real life game and puts it into virtual reality. There is tons and tons of content and is a fantastic multiplayer experience. You can obviously play competitively, but personally this is just a really cool chat and chill game and features great DLC from things like the movie Labyrinth, the game Myst, 2000 Leagues Under the Sea, and much more. Lies Beneath is a single player survival horror game with a heavy dose of action, and the graphical style of this game is a massive draw for me. I love cel-shaded graphics. You play a college student named May and use fight to save her father and your own sanity from the creepy creatures infecting her town. It's got fantastic melee combat and over-the-top nightmarish creatures. If you were a fan of Nintendo's Wii Bowling, definitely be sure to check out Forever Bowl. There's tons of unlockables, lots of customization, and it has fantastic bowling physics. I Expect to Die places you in the polished shoes of an elite secret agent, and you must solve complex puzzles in order to survive deadly situations. If you are ever looking for a James Bond style escape room game, the I Expect to Die series will serve you perfectly. Staying with escape room experiences, I also want to recommend The Room VR: A Dark Matter. You play a Sherlock Holmes style detective based in London in 1908. You must explore cryptic locations, examine fantastic gadgets, and enter the otherworldly space which blurs the line between reality and illusion. Now you can't have this list without mentioning Gorilla Tag. Run and jump using only your arms in the most popular online VR game of all time. If you're looking for a game your kids want to play this Christmas, I guarantee Gorilla Tag is the one. Moss is a beautiful fantasy game when you play as the reader. You start in a library reading a book, and you're transported into a beautiful diorama world contained within the book, where you meet a young brave mouse called Quill. You have to help her on an adventure to save her uncle and take on many great hardships in both Moss Book 1 and 2. These are truly fantastic games and feature fantastic music. Enlist in the ranks of the Light Brigade, humanity's last line of defense, and journey through procedurally generated battlegrounds as many times as it takes to free the souls of the fallen trapped within. This is a truly stunning VR roguelike with beautiful music and a great art style. You have 5 loadouts to unlock, featuring weapons such as rifles, shotguns and SMGs, which all feel great to play with, and each class has a unique player perk. It's recently been enhanced for Quest 3 and has a cool mixed reality mode. Now, one of the most amazing things about virtual reality is the sense of scale you can feel. Whether that's you looking at something that's absolutely massive, or in a game like Climb 2, where you're looking down from a great height. In the Climb 2, you ascend mountaintops, navigate vast caves, climb skyscrapers, and you need to discover hidden shortcuts as you need to find your path to the top. You can compete with friends and conquer online leaderboards in multiplayer modes, and experience breathtaking vistas as you scale new heights. But be aware, if you run out of chalk and you lose your grip, you will plummet to the ground, and this can be quite a shocking experience for a new VR player. Superhot VR is one of the all-time greats on any VR headset, with a unique twist on gameplay because time only moves when you move your body, which leads to some fantastic action set pieces, similar to being inside the Matrix, and should be experienced by everyone who wants to try VR. If there was one game that you would want to put someone in to show them how fun virtual reality can be, Superhot is one of those games. If you've ever been a fan of Tetris, Tetris Effect will not disappoint. It's incredibly addictive, unique, and features breathtakingly gorgeous music. It's a fantastic way to lose yourself in VR, and if you get to level 50, you can unlock the original Game Boy version, which me and my family have spent hours playing. Now, one of my all-time favourites is Real VR Fishing, a beautifully relaxing fishing game with stunning graphics and photorealistic 3D imagery. You can choose to keep your fish to customise your own aquarium, and there's multiplayer for up to 4 players, and features really addictive gameplay. Now, we can't have this list without mentioning a VR roller coaster, and that would be Epic Roller Coasters. I feel it gives you some of the best roller coaster experiences in VR. There's even a mode where you get to control the brakes of the roller coaster, which is absolutely insane, and I would definitely not recommend it if it's your first time inside a VR headset. Lego Brick Tales has become one of my favourite chill out puzzle games for me and my daughter, since we both love Lego. Unlike other Lego games, you can actually build stuff on this cool asymmetrical puzzle adventure. You get a set amount of bricks, and you can just go crazy like playing with real Lego. You get sets from the Lego Fantasy World, Lego City and Lego Jungle sets, and with more to unlock. This is one of my favourite games of 2023. If you're looking for a boxing game, look no further than Creed Rise to Glory Championship Edition. It's got super satisfying gameplay with really great graphics and a story which kept me hooked for hours. You also get to fight online against other potential VR boxers. Another absolute classic in VR is Job Simulator. This is one of my daughter's favourite VR games on Quest. You can be a chef, an office worker, a store clerk, and there's something called overtime mode, which was one of my daughter's favourite things to do. Once you turn overtime mode on, she can spend hours working in her own shop and serving random customers. A Fisherman's Tale is a beautiful short story with great puzzles, which will blow your mind in VR. This is an almost Inception-like experience, and for me, stands as one of the best uses of VR. The Pixel Rip series is an amazing multi-dimensional retro-styled adventure that simply isn't possible outside of virtual reality. Set in the era of 8, 16 and 32-bit consoles, this game-within-a-game experience follows the adventures of Dot, an in-game character who sees her world torn apart by the Cyberlin Lord, a villain able to break through the video game screen and invade the real world. This really is one of my favourites. Breaches is a fantastic tactical 5v5 VR FPS that is pretty much Rainbow Six in VR. You play as 2 factions, the Enforcers, whose job is to disarm the bombs, which is actually my favourite side to play because tactical infiltration in VR is a real buzz, and Breaches nails this feeling completely. If you get the right team, planning your entry and working together is an amazing feeling, and with its recent release on PSVR 2 with cross-platform play along with Steam, there's going to be plenty of people to play online with. Swing from towering skyscrapers and battle deadly enemies as you fight to free your city from the evil that consumes it in Resist VR. With a kinetic swinging system that makes you feel like Spider-Man with weapons, this is a really intense game that attests your VR legs, and it's a pretty cool story with Quest 3 enhancements. Pavlov is a team-based multiplayer VR shooter with realistic weapon handling. Play a variety of game modes with over 65 interactable weapons and attachments in various environments, and game modes like Search and Destroy, which pretty much is like Counter-Strike in VR, the very popular TTT mode, and the Hide, which is one of my personal favourites. Learn to DJ on official Pioneer DJing equipment in Tribe XR, and then you can take your skills into the real world. I jumped in recently and found it very rewarding, and it made me feel if I keep joining the daily workshops, I could genuinely learn to DJ one day. Synth Riders is only the second music game on this list because I'm not a massive fan of the genre, but the soundtrack in Synth Riders is so good, I actually added it to my Spotify playlist. Let the music take control of your body as you catch notes, ride the rails, and dodge obstacles in this awesome VR game. Lock into the seat of a 40-ton mech and speed into battle with precise and fully interactable physics-based cockpit controls. Deliver one devastating blow after another as you squad up with 4 friends and conquer your way across the solar system. These developers are hard at work pushing this game in so many ways, and it really gives the fast VR mech game I've always wanted online. And while we're on the subject of mechs, we need to mention the fantastic Vox Machina. This is entirely different from the previous game Iron Rebellion, as this feels more like a mech sim. The robots are absolutely huge, slow, and the game's damage engine is brilliant. Losing limbs during intense online battles and ejecting from the cockpit is a fantastic experience, and there's already a pretty solid online community waiting for you. Sam the Amigo, the classic Dreamcast dance game, gets the VR treatment and is also playable in mixed reality. This was a real surprise for me and my family, and as a retro gaming fan, I absolutely love it. It features excellent music and gaming soundtracks. Cubism is a deceptively simple puzzle game in VR where you assemble increasingly complex shapes out of coloured blocks. It features excellent hand tracking and mixed reality and will definitely keep you coming back for more. Bone Lab is an experimental physics action game filled with weapons, enemies, challenges, secrets, and a really cool modding scene which will keep you entertained for weeks. After discovering an underground lab in Myth OS City, you have access to a variety of game locations including arenas, obstacle courses, tactical trials, sandboxes, experimental modes, and user-generated levels. Bone Lab gives you a sense of physical presence unlike many other VR games, and I highly recommend it. A Medieval VR is a true retro FPS completely rebuilt from the ground up for VR. Once branded a heretic, now you have been chosen as the world's champion. You must reclaim the sacred weapons, take back the ancient lands. I remember reviewing this last year and I absolutely loved it. Sticking with the retro style games for VR, Compound is a must-buy FPS roguelite. It's a free roaming shooter for VR veterans, and I personally revisit this quite a lot. Become a pilot in Warplanes VR. Immerse yourself in World War I aerial combat like never before in a captivating VR experience. There's a mixture of World War I fighters to choose from, and no matter what you prefer, either arcade games or flight simulators, Warplanes is the best flight sim on Quest. Medal of Honor Above and Beyond puts you in war-torn Europe with a really decently sized single-player campaign, and I thought it had very good multiplayer. Unfortunately, the online part of the game is struggling, but if you have the money, I would still check this out purely for the single player campaign. Lucky's Tale was the first and still one of the best VR platformers that doesn't take itself too seriously and can be enjoyed by all ages. Robo Recall was one of the very first games to be launched with Quest, and it's an action-packed VR first-person shooter with an awesome combo system. The only downer is the teleport system, but it's still super fun to tear apart these malfunctioning robots. It never gets boring ripping the heads and limbs off these guys. Thumper is a fantastic rhythm game which will test your reaction times. You are a space beetle going up against a mechanical giant from the future, and I often find myself going back to this one. Star Wars Pinball is a forgotten gem in VR. It features 8 Star Wars pinball tables, including one based from the Mandalorian TV show. There's also the Star Wars Fan Cave, which is customizable, and the pinball physics are brilliant. Drop Dead the Cab is an intense and challenging game that sees you put up against waves of zombies, similar to Call of Duty. In VR, you can play co-op, or try your hand at the mixed reality mode called Home Invasion, where you have to survive waves of enemies actually smashing up your house as they try to break into your home and kill you while you await extraction. It's really intense, and the mixed reality mode will definitely be fun for you and your family over Christmas. Ocean Rift is a very cool underwater adventure game and now features an unmissable mixed reality mode, turning your room into an underwater aquarium featuring creatures from the Jurassic era, dolphins, and even a huge shark. This one's going to drive people crazy over Christmas. And last but definitely not least on this list is Trackcraft. It's one of my all-time favourite mixed reality games with crazy courses to test your driving skills, and even has an online community mode, so there's a never-ending amount of content. You can now also check out the game using the Gamertag VR car, which I'm obviously a massive fan of. Well, there it is. I hope you enjoyed this massive list of Quest games. Please take a moment to like and subscribe, and remember to comment down below on your favourites from the list.